Welcome to the story of the Battle of Jericho. This story is from the book of Joshua, chapter 6, verses 1 through 20. The lesson focus for grades 3 and 4 is God plus us plus a big breath equals victory. The book of Joshua is about the relationship between God and God's people, the Israelites. At this point in Israel's story, Joshua has become God's general. The Israelites' task is to capture the promised land that God has led them to, beginning with the walled-in city of Jericho. At the beginning of chapter 6, God lays out the battle plan for taking the city of Jericho. It sounds ridiculous. Marching around the city for 6 days with 7 priests with 7 trumpets? But the absurdity is there to make the point that Israel cannot do it on their own. They need God. God is strong, and of course, God is with them. The Israelites obeyed God. They marched around the city the required number of times with all of the horns and priests and everything for 6 days. On the 7th day, they marched around 7 times. The priests blew the trumpets, and Joshua said, "Shout, for the Lord has given you the city." The people shouted, and the walls fell down. The Israelites charged into the city and captured it. An obvious theme in this story is obedience. The Israelites do exactly what God tells them to do in this story. They go round and round for God, and God brings down walls. It is this act of obedience, not the directions themselves, that leads them to realize how much they need God. They could not take Jericho on their own. They needed God. This was an important lesson for the Israelites at this particular point in their history. They had quickly forgotten their dependence on God when they were wandering in the wilderness with Moses. Again and again, they needed to learn to trust God. And for us, we can see that God plus us plus a big breath equals victory. Although this seems like a story of a loud, dramatic conquest, it is really a story of faith. When the Israelites shout at the walls of Jericho and they actually fall down, they learned again that God is with them and that they are absolutely dependent on God. This story helps us see that when we obey, we'll be okay. Today's story of the Battle of Jericho shows God working through Joshua and the Israelites to fulfill God's plan. You'll explore an exciting lesson focus with kids. God plus us plus a big breath equals victory. If you have a laptop and your church has Wi-Fi, bring in your computer whenever you locate photos, videos, or websites that can enhance the lesson. For this lesson, you could show a how-to video on how to blow a shofar. Seeing the ancient instrument used in a modern worship setting will help the kids understand this Jewish tradition and link it to today's Bible story. In the opening prayer, the class will give thanks for the marvelous things that only God can do. Allow enough time for everyone to think of something they want to say. Don't be afraid of silence if you need to wait several seconds for someone's contribution. Let them know that everyone's ideas are valued. As you invite your kids to pray with you, you can help them see that God can do great things through us. Invite kids to help you bring today's story to life. Before you read about the Battle of Jericho from the Spark Bible, call the kids' attention to all of the actions described in the story. Encourage them to march in place, blow horns, and shout when the text mentions these responses. Practice cueing the kids for their part so that they know when to come in. Then, enjoy this exciting narrative together. Remind the kids that God continues to work through many people to fulfill God's plan, sometimes in very unexpected ways. In today's lesson, you will invite your kids to help you tell God's story. They will experience God working in and through them. Enjoy this exciting lesson focus. God plus us plus a big breath equals victory.